All right, let's bring in Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary and Fox News contributor. Ari, we need you because what is going on? We've got this live shot of the podium. Speaker Johnson is about to step up to the microphone. I mean, the drama is building. Is anybody winning?
I hate to say it, but I think House Republicans are on the verge of making a terrible mistake. They are about to transfer blame for this shutdown, which has been squarely on the Democrats, who have taken out their hatred on ICE on TSA agents. And House Republicans are about to mess it up, keep TSA off the job and unpaid because they're trying to pass a purity test that cannot pass. They should pass what the Senate did. And as we know, ICE is funded because of the big, beautiful bill. The House strategy is a mistake.
What do you believe? How do you believe House Republicans, for example, with the speaker about to speak, how do you believe he could effectively proceed?
Well, the problem they have is they want to pass good legislation. They want to pass the SAVE Act. They want to have additional funding for ICE. So they're trying to get everything that they want. You can't get everything you want, even if it's meritorious in our system. So the best course of all was to recognize Democrats did not get a single ICE reform that they were pounding the table trying to get through the Senate. The Senate rejected every single one of the Democratic demands for reforms to ICE. And then they passed the bill to fund the rest of DHS, including the TSA workers. That leaves ICE unfunded in the appropriation bill. But it was already funded in the big, beautiful bill. So they can pass this now on a second reconciliation bill, which will only require 50 votes. Republicans had checkmated the Democrats in the Senate. Republicans in the House now need to move the pieces to let the checkmate happen. If they block this, Republicans in the House now are going to be the ones who own the blame for TSA workers and the delays at the airports.
Well, you got to think that, and I believe we've got a bunch of the live shots, Liberty, Reagan, where sort of the airport chaos continues, that this will be on the mind of so many Americans as they try to travel, as John just mentioned with that latest report. As so many are traveling for spring break coming up this week, traveling for the Easter holiday, people will be heading to the airports and they're going to experience this drama.
I've been to 3 airports already this week. I'll be at my 4th one tomorrow. And I lucked in, even in Atlanta, leaving Atlanta on Tuesday afternoon, there were no lines. But the morning has been when it's really bad, and I'm flying out of LaGuardia in the morning tomorrow. So this affects me as well, but I'm not saying what I'm saying because it's about my personal travel. It's about everybody's experience. And these poor TSA workers, what's going to happen is if this continues through this weekend, airports are going to shut down because TSA workers are just going to stop showing up en masse. This is just the terrible, wrong way to treat people. It's time to everybody cut your losses, fund TSA, live to fight another day.
Not sure that's what we're about to hear. And Ari, just noting the call-out rate is now about 40% for these TSA workers. I mean, they've had it. We've heard about the challenges that so many of them are facing at home, living paycheck to paycheck. Sure, will they get their money later? Great, but a lot of them are incurring late fees on credit cards, eviction notices, late fees on paying their rent. They are experiencing these hardships themselves. So we're sort of left wondering, okay, I believe that we have we're keeping a look at JBA because we're obviously waiting on the president's arrival there. We could hear him take questions from reporters in this moment, Ari. Obviously, there could be a lot of news there as well. We see the motorcade arriving now.
You know, Senator, there is a long-term solution to this, and that's when the government has these ridiculous shutdowns. Entitlement spending continues unchecked. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, they continue to go out at the prior rate. Same thing should happen for domestic spending. There's no reason to punish the public because Congress can't get its job done. So if they fail to reach agreements on their budgets to pass the annual appropriation bills, whatever last year's bill is should just kick right back in, and that continues for another year. You can't keep holding America hostage because our closely divided government cannot reach agreement or make compromises anymore. That's the solution. Treat domestic spending the way we've treated entitlement spending, and we'll never have these silly shutdowns again.
Well, President Trump obviously saw the urgency in getting something done for these TSA agents, signing this emergency order that they start to get their paychecks. Ari, a sign that the president sees the urgency, obviously, in this moment.
And I love the spirit of that, and it's a good workaround if it can be done. I just don't know how the executive branch has the authority to pass an appropriation to pay people if Congress hasn't put that forward. That is how our system is supposed to work. And I've seen Democrat senators say President Trump should have done this a long time ago. Well, again, that was Congress's authority to do it. So maybe this is a workaround that everybody's going to wink at because it's TSA, and I want TSA to get paid. But boy, what a takeover of congressional functions would it be if the executive can now pay employees when Congress hasn't passed a bill to pay those employees. That's also a consequence here of the president stepping in to fix this problem. Congress is acknowledging it no longer has control over the appropriation process. The president does. That would be a massive change in how our government works.
You know, it's going to be interesting to hear from Speaker Johnson here in a few moments as we see the president in his motorcade arriving there at Joint Base Andrews. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, as I mentioned, who is about to speak, has indicated and pressed that Republicans are acting in good faith, that they're negotiating in good faith. He has said that it's Democrats who have moved the goalpost. I imagine, Ari, that's a taste of what we are again about to hear from Speaker Johnson.
Well, and I think that's accurate. They have moved the goalpost, but it doesn't matter where you move the goalpost to, TSA is not getting paid, and it's not their fault. And that's where the Senate reached that breakthrough yesterday that I would encourage the House to pass what the Senate passed. We've reached beyond the point of negotiations. We've reached beyond the point of purity tests. It's gone on too long, too far. Too many people are getting hurt, and the traveling public in the millions is getting impacted. I understand pushing for your position, fighting to get a win. But at some point, you've got to say, I can't win. It's a stalemate. And we're at a stalemate right now. And that's why what the Senate did last night gets us through it. And Republicans will have the upper hand because they can pass the funding they need to with just 50 votes in the Senate if they just pass it on what's called a reconciliation bill. They don't have to do it right now the way the House is trying to do it. It's one thing to fight. It's another to be successful. Don't fight if you can't be successful.
You know, as we work our way through, gosh, I'm looking at the date, March 27th, here we are in a midterm election year, and we're watching how the Republicans, how the Democrats are handling this negotiation. By the way, just watched President Trump board Air Force One there a few moments ago. We'll see and hear from him speaking in Florida shortly. But Ari, is this giving a taste of the next few months as we head into midterm elections?
Well, it's a sign of just the bitter division in Washington, which is nothing new. I mean, this is the second shutdown in a row this year. If you remember, the Democrats shut the Congress down, shut the government down, half the government, because they wanted Obamacare subsidies, the super subsidies, to be extended beyond their expiration date. They demanded more spending. They didn't get it. They let the government shut down for the longest period in history at that time. And then that reopened, and the Democrats didn't get anything they wanted other than shutting it down. Now the Democrats did it again because they don't like ICE. They still want to abolish ICE. They call it reform ICE. They want to abolish ICE. And they took that out on TSA agents. That's where we were until the Senate passed its solution last night. I just find it, Senator, and I hate to say it as somebody who has been a big supporter of House Republicans, it's a head scratcher what they're trying to do. If they could be successful, I'd be for it because it's good policy. They cannot be successful in pulling this off.
All right. Ari, thank you very much joining us through all the movements there with the motorcade arriving, President Trump on board. We'll see and hear from him in a little bit. And we are awaiting Speaker Johnson, who should step up to that microphone in the next few minutes to move this forward. All right, Ari, thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.